seen 3 already. Productions in this season.
Yeah,
They've all been good. We'll see what this is going to be.
yeah. What an fascinating idea. Never been before.
Never been seen before as the kind of suggest more.
wishing to fit in with a strict gender binary. Hello. It's all right, you can say hello back, there's no fourth wall.
Hello.
Thank you. Although by the time I finish tonight, you may wish the cockpit had chosen to install soundproof triple glazing. Now, you see, you might realise, obviously I attempted something vaguely musical at the beginning. Yes, I did. Now, most other sensible, respectable, gender-fluid performance artists, yes, I'm a niche within a niche, if they had set up a dilemma, which was this: will the performance artist fulfill their promise of 2 years ago to attempt to learn to sing? Most other people would have simply left any attempt at singing to the very end of the show, therefore baiting the audience with an entirely enticing will she, won't she scenario, culminating either in triumph through musical success or the exaggerated bathos of deliberate comic ineptitude. See, I've clearly thought this through. But I realised that this was an opera festival and I couldn't just spend the entire time in your company engaged in the vocal equivalent of slowly hitching up my skirts. You see, I've done a little bit of burlesque and I know the creative potential of the tease. But there comes a point where you have to put your voice where your mouth is, so to speak. This metaphor's getting away from me. Never mind. So, there will be attempts at singing, stress attempts, big underlined word, attempts, throughout tonight, culminating in, well, I'm clearly no lyric soprano, but if you'll allow me to indulge a little in the role of the ingenue. Now, 2 years ago, I stood upon this very stage, about there actually, and I laid out in what I call a spoken word overture, my musical dilemma. Now, we don't have much time, so I shall recap this very quickly. When I was a child, I was fascinated by performance, but I couldn't do acting because acting wasn't available at my school, so I took music instead, a subject for which I had absolutely no ability whatsoever. It turned out that I was rubbish at it, but I persevered, I took a GCSE, I got through with a very boring middle C. And so, I then decided years later, when I became a performance artist and a performance poet, I would explore voice, because voice was something that fascinated me, and so I made a stupid promise to try and learn to sing opera, because opera's fascinating because of the bendy gender roles within it, whilst at the same time you have a very rigid structure of soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Are we following this so far?
Yes.
Good. So that's where I was 2 years ago. Now I finished my little spoken word overture with an attempt at, well, it's a piece of poetry. It wasn't really an attempt, because that's what I do. But I thought I would do this. I called it the contract. And I would like to recreate the contract for you. Now, here's some music by the composer for the show. Not me, because I was banging stupid chords earlier, but the proper composer, whose work you heard when you came in, Tina Gooding, who's over there. And now, obviously, as this is going to be proper music and not something that I had anything to do with, we'll also need a pianist who knows what they're doing to play it. So please, it was quite difficult finding a pianist for this show, actually, because it was a Venn diagram. You had to find somebody who was very good at the piano, then you had to get somebody who was free on the 6th of September, and then you had to get someone who didn't think I was insane. And so please put your hands together, about to approach the stage with the trepidation of Mr. Andrew Preview for a 1971 Morecambe on My special, our pianist, Mr. Daniel Lee Chappell, please. Genuinely just keep wanting to do the Morecambe and Wise sketch. Rubbish. But we have something more important to do. So, let us try the contract. block in my head that will not sing, instead it beats out a very unpleasant thing. Outsider in opera, outsider in gender, crush dreams in a box and return them to sender. Give up before trying, embarrassments less, a cuckoo in music, a man in a dress. Each time you try singing and each time you fail, you're sharp or you're flat, it's the pitch you can't nail. This year you passed 50, it's too late to start retraining and straining and torturing art.
Oh, I refute it, there's reason to try. I'm more than a joke, and I'm not just a guy. Unless I have a contract to be witness in a most unusual way with some assistance, I have cast down the gauntlet not to the crowd, but to myself, to give oneself a year, retrain this lead on you, which dampens, hampers, keeps my song unsung, and make a conscious choice to find my operatic voice. Would dramatic contralto be
Just too much to ask.
if this work I don't shirk, might you believe that this girl could unfurl recitative? Or perhaps I'll collapse in the story of the technical requirements of the aria. So brace yourselves, critics, I'm spreading my wings. I'm crying, I'm trying new things. With tutors, with theorists, more tutors, we might get composing. I am no queen of the night. Queen of the night.
That would need transposing.
I've aimed for contralto that might still spell witches. Though some of those ladies are glamorous bitches. Just pray I don't play a man stuck in breeches. So the section, retune the strings. The story's unsettled till the translated
Yeah, so it's not going well, to say the least. It's not. Now, in addition to leaning on my partner Tina, whose degree was in composition, so consequently she wasn't going to get out of this, I've also been talking to various other musical practitioners and opera specialists, and I've been trying to research and find if it is possible for some idiot like me to even vaguely try and learn to sing. So I was talking to my old music teacher, who hadn't actually completely abandoned me. We stayed in contact, and he introduced me to a lady called Catherine May, who is an opera singer, a soprano, and she works in my hometown of Colchester, and she is a tutor. So I worked with Catherine. And then lovely people at the Royal Opera House and Britain Pears Arts put me in contact with various people. I met a lady called Wendy Gadian, who's a vocal coach. She lives down in London, and she's lovely and she's wonderful, and she works in opera, and she also teaches. Now, purists, you're going to have to put your fingers into your ears, because I'm going to swear. Musical theatre. I can take them out now. Yes, as long as she doesn't drink blood or anything, she's fine, she's fine. And also, I was put in contact with Rob Gilden, a vocal amateur and a baritone. He resides in leafy Suffolk with a selection of dogs, innumerable goats, a selection, and a peacock named Percy. It's true. It's true. I make him sound like Dr. Dolittle, but he is actually a serious vocal coach. So with all of these people working together, oh, and a friend of mine called Zia Zan, and she is a bel canto specialist, and she has a voice which seems to echo from years before the 20th century. Voices, voices, choices, choices. What style awaits, what route to take? Well, I decided that obviously it would be quite difficult for them to work with me and get me anywhere close to being able to sing, so I elected to work with all of them. Yes, I did. I am nothing if not eclectic. When I first started attending singing lessons, I thought the most difficult thing was actually being able to pitch, because when I was at school I could never pitch in the choir. But I was told actually I could more or less pitch some of the time, providing I didn't have to sing against something else, and I could just focus on one note. You see, part singing is never going to be an option for me. But I could pitch a note, but it's very difficult for me sometimes around my normal speaking voice. That's the tricky bit. Which in girl mode, where are we? Where do we think we are? Here, excuse me. Here. About middle C is my girl mode voice. And then probably boy mode. Down there, somewhere like that. You see, not quite the full octave, because I'm using my middle to upper chest voice for both. You see, over the years, I have become used to lightening and brightening my good girl's spoken voice to prevent unwanted and embarrassing attention. I de-emphasize certain elements, as I also do with my long hair. It's real, of course. My lovely, sensible court shoes, my padded boobs and foam-augmented bum. I restrict myself within appropriately demure female body language because that seems to create a form of emotional security, not just for me, but for the people around me. And as society expects ladies to speak at a higher pitch than gentlemen, then similarly, my embarrassing male bass resonance must be firmly suppressed. However, I don't talk in falsetto. I don't think I can cope with this. Could you cope with me talking like this the entire evening without wanting to kill me? No, I think I'm having a 1980s Bonnie Langford moment. Enough of that. So, but falsetto is something I'm going to have to use if I want to attain anything close to a contralto register, or countertenor, as someone would insist upon terming it, when talking about a person such as myself. But the problem is, I digress, if I have such a big vocal playground, that just presents me with more and more opportunities to go wrong. I can miss-sing a note. It's true. I can miss-sing a note by an increment larger than most people's usable singing range. It's not something to boast about, but it's absolutely true. I can be off by an octave, perhaps even two. Count them. I genuinely can. As my friend Ziazan and my tutor Catherine have said, I need to think about going straight ahead. Straight ahead. Imagine that your voice is flowing. Straight ahead. Hear the pitch before you get there knowing. In your head, it's sung already, and you're going straight ahead. Straight ahead. Imagine that your voice is flowing. Straight ahead. Is that right? Not quite. Oh, shite. It's not up or down or anywhere around. Don't leap up an octave or jump too down. You're closer than you think to your sound, and when you find it, it will resound. Straight ahead. Like you're in a car driving, straight ahead, like a swimmer diving, to oyster bed where the pearls are thriving, straight ahead, straight ahead, straight ahead. Straight ahead! It's piano, not stentato, straight ahead. bel cantos, not staccato. No, instead you're aiming for legato. Straight ahead, you're straight ahead, you're straight ahead. It's not up or down or anywhere around. Don't leap up an octave or jump 2 down. You're closer than you think to your sound. And when you find it, it will resound. Straight ahead, make sure you always keep the line. Straight ahead, frontal pearls on Mozart's finest twine. Take that for red, and henceforth your notes will ring out fine. Straight ahead, imagine that your voice is flowing. Straight ahead, hear the pitch before you get there, knowing in your head it's sung already, and you're going straight ahead, you're straight ahead, you're straight ahead, you're straight ahead, you're straight ahead. No pity, please. I'm a poet, so that wasn't song, so that doesn't count. Whilst pitch, rhythm, phrasing, cadence, and all of these things are incredibly difficult for me to master, these are fundamentals which to you, I'm sure, are simple, but for me are impossible. And with the biggest curse, the thing that annoys me the most is I can't make my voice sound just pleasant. It's the curse of we falsetto girls. Bel canto, beautiful song. Unfortunately, that is not what I'm listening back to on the tapes of my lessons, or probably on the recording tonight. No. It doesn't matter if you can hold that contralto top F5 and maintain it if the resulting sound is an empty, strangled screech akin to putting a mating cat through a wood chipper. No. This is the problem. I can't master the art, and so I feel a certain envy. I feel it particularly in the presence of my tutors. The female ones at that, because I am less secure in my upper register. And then you listen to other people and you hear in their tones those clear, open, ringing, bell-like notes to which you aspire, but seem forever forbidden for you. And even though you know that this work is concealed, the labouring towards this grace is hidden, you know their foundation, their biology is built on something quite different to your own. Now, I've done the most work with a lady called Catherine May, who I mentioned, who, despite now living in my hometown of Colchester, in Essex, because yeah, I'm an Essex girl. Yeah, I am. She's not from Essex. She's actually from Regina in Saskatchewan, and I do love a Canadian accent. And I must admit, I do spend a lot of our time in our lessons trying to resist the glorious temptation of mimicry. She's a bit of a musical geek, and she has a wonderful experience of music. She understands how composers create their work and they create their accompaniments, and she talks with great energy and passion and enthusiasm, and she's going to kill me when she sees this tape. But you see, mimicry to me is as natural as breathing. In fact, it's more natural than breathing, because when I get on stage and I try to sing, I forget to breathe. But that's the thing. I can do that without thinking. I can tell you exactly what I'm doing with my voice to create any given impression, from an accurate one to a thumbnail sketch caricature, but I cannot recreate this in song. It would be so easy if I could simply mimic somebody who already had an operatic voice. That would be a wonderful shortcut, but unfortunately it's not available to me. So what we're going to do is a little song. This is dedicated to Catherine and Tina and all the lovely ladies who can sing, who I envy so much.
Please find me your voice, please show me your voice. I want to tell this, it's my stupid choice. Please find me your voice, please show me your voice. Your voice is your own, your voice is your own. When greeting in person, on Zoom or the phone, no reasonable other can create
singing's lost power. It's talky, it cracks, back to modal or awkward and gawky. My breath is exhausted, I'm empty and gasping, and above E5, throat is tensing and rasping, no note is forthcoming. We find ourselves laughing.
I must move transition and find ways approaching the chasm and spasm I feel when approaching the breakpoint transition. I'm eager for coaching. Contraltos reach F5 and need to sustain it. The higher my voice climbs, the farther I strain it. If body's the instrument, can't we retrain it? Why did I choose singing? Why did I choose singing? I think of the troublesome issues it's bringing. But every so often I hear my notes ringing. Your song fits your range, your song fits your range. There's nothing discrepant, unpleasant or strange. Can technique facilitate wondrous change? Please find me a voice, please show me my voice. I wanted to learn this, so it's my own choice. I must own my voice, let me own my voice.
I'll be doing this with beer later. Yes, now employing the correct voice is very important socially. And I wish I could translate this into the world of singing. But unfortunately my brain doesn't work that way. Now when descending a scale around middle C, or please give me an F down to F below, just a normal major scale. See what it is? Not even close. It's incredibly difficult for me. I can missing it, not hear it, get it completely wrong, or be off by an octave. The other little trick I do is to descend the scale, and instead of just going down one note and changing the voice from the falsetto to the modal, what I'll do is I'll drop 9 steps and put myself off by an octave, and I can do the same going up again. It's an explosive danger area. Maybe that's why they call it C4, I don't know. But it really is terrible. So I've decided to make it even more complicated for myself because I decided to try and actually write a piece of music. Ha, ha, ha. No, so I do words, so I decided to try some music. And I was looking at the idea of changing voice and the difficulty of shifting voices and around that gear change point. Because I was working with Rob Gilden, who I mentioned is based in Suffolk. And consequently, I was working more on the baritone with him, so I had to keep shifting voices between one and the other. So this is a little piece about that experience, because I had a year of journeys. Some of them were metaphorical, boringly, predictably metaphorical. Some were literal and geographical. And I found myself travelling, sometimes down to cosmopolitan ROH London, and sometimes out into the wild flatlands of my native East Anglia, where the sky is huge, and the reeds in their channels have waved their applause to painters and poets, composers, librettists, all seeking their stories along marshes and beaches of bleakest, most beautiful North Sea coast shores.
Rob Gilden's my tutor in Hillsworth, so finding a place just to meet face to face can challenge us. There's trains up to London tuned down here in the room, the acoustic is. So we've met in Snape,
Where this student tries to ape robs a rich vocal warm-ups, deep breathing and panting,
inhaling while smiling, encouraged, inventing,
trying and sighing as if I am scenting
blossoms of roses and fresh morning coffee and
fills me up down there. We're
finding the warmth and the space to embrace fresh wonder, a snake malting's air.
Alice, breathe Alice, like you haven't a care.
But the thoughts of the notes awaiting is frightening and tightening my larynx and pharynx. There's nothing left down there. I'm losing the air, the precious air. And I can't count the notes, the long, drawn-out notes of this Ave Maria. These semi-breathes go on too long. My muscles aren't that strong to get through all that song. And listening back to the sound on the track, on the train, on the Zoom, the recorder this is, not the platform, the voice in that room simply fills me with gloom. My voice using speech seems so mannish. I wish it would lighten and brighten and male timbrers vanish. Is giving 2 Fs above middle C beyond my reach without that strangled screech?
But my baritone rings, though it always rings strange. In my God's ear could really have power, but could a contralto voice flower?
Oh, will all my doubts just devour? Stop, Alice! Relax, Alice! Relax, Alice! Please, Alice, don't go there, don't you dare! Remember the lesson Rob taught you.
It's air. Alice, breathe Alice, just flex like the reeds as they polish the air.
Well, we're warming slowly up. I can't clear any of this stuff on my vocal cords. This is not an excuse, because I'm rubbish anyway. You know, people say, I've got a little problem, and I'd normally be brilliant. No, I'd normally be dreadful as well, but I'm especially dreadful tonight. It's like, it's sort of like claggy. Won't go, which is going to be interesting, because I made a promise. I made a promise I would try and learn to sing. I'm not obviously fulfilling that very well, but I'm trying. And I also said, well, I'll try some actual opera. So, I decided that it would be time to look at some classical pieces. Yes, I know, it's scary, isn't it? Oh yes. I'm not labouring under any musical delusions of competence, but nevertheless, I'm going to present 2 contrasting arias from different operas. There's going to be a serious tragic opera and a comic opera. Now, both are far too complicated, and both I would never be able to do, because I'm rubbish. But we are going to try them anyway. Now, here are the parameters I've set for myself. These are written as female roles for ladies to sing. Now, I've allowed myself some transposition downwards, a third on one occasion and a fourth on the other. But that's only because these are written for sopranos, and I've tried to bring them down into a sort of contralto register, which might just be possible for me. Just possible. There's still some high notes which will not work. Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. But we're going to give it a go anyway. So what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to pass this over to you in a moment, because I would like you to have a think about what roles I might have taken. What might I be choosing to attempt? And I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll make it simple. We'll focus first on the tragic role, because this wouldn't be an opera festival without a woman dying horribly now, would it? No, that has to happen. So have a think about this. But also, I'd like to point out, I do care very much about my audience, and I don't want to cause you any discomfort. So please don't be embarrassed by whatever happens next, because there's only 3 reasons that you might be embarrassed, and I will cite them. Reason 1,
Oh dear God, that creature, she actually thinks she can sing. Has she no idea of how dreadful she is?
essentially the Florence Foster Jenkins phenomenon. Don't worry, I know how inept I am, so no toes need curl on that account. Secondly, you might be embarrassed for me. Oh, that poor thing, she's missed that E5 by a mile, she must be destroyed. Don't worry. I might make a fool of myself on your stage, but in the world of spoken word and performance art, I am a queen. I have dictionaries at my command, and I shall endure. Thirdly, you might be embarrassed because what I'm about to perpetuate or perpetrate upon the composer's work.
No, dear God in heaven! Never, never again shall I be able to revel in the death of Brunhilde after that so-called rendition was ejaculated into my inner ear like congested vomit.
Don't worry, Stephen, it's all right. I'm not touching Wagner with a bloody barge pole. Also, a work of genius cannot be destroyed by one mismatched attempt, however awful its execution. It will endure. I am not a footnote in musical history, and nor shall I ever be. The works that you love will endure. You will always be able to hear them perfect. It doesn't matter what I do. So there is no need to be embarrassed on that account either. We're all fine. It's a safe space. So, with that said, what do you think I'm going to try? Tragic role. What might I go for? And bearing in mind, my knowledge of the opera canon is quite small, so I'm not going for something obscure. You're not an audition panel who I have to impress with a willfully obscure choice. No, this will be a car crash we can all sing along to. What do you reckon?
That's Love from Carmen.
Tosca.
Tosca, you reckon Tosca?
Tosca, it's the dress.
Oh, okay.
That's Love from Carmen.
Mimi.
Yeah?
Mimi.
Can I?
No?
Un
No
bel
one's...
dì vedremo.
What's that?
Un bel dì vedremo.
No one's getting this so far.
Ah.
All right, I'll give you a couple more clues. And this is something seriously about my personality. There's two sides of my personality. I did a show called Speaking Out and Fitting In, which wasn't actually about specifically gender. It was about the fact that whilst I am so happy to play the fool for you and caper like an idiot on a stage, there's a part of me that wants to be anonymous. I want to pass through life unnoticed. I want to leave the lightest of treads upon this stage, and when I do have to leave it, which all must do eventually, I want to cast no pain behind me. Any ideas? Shall we just do it? going to get the remember these.
It was
I've spoken to
brilliant.
serious sopranos who sing this in the, because this is a transposition obviously down. This is, I'm hitting an E5, which is kind of top of the shop for me, that, or an F5 is the highest I can go. And I've spoken to people who sing and I say it's punishing, which is no excuse for doing it badly, because of course I was going to do it badly. I'm me. But never mind. Yes, this is a bit of an unusual show, you'll have gathered. You might have worked out that this is a bit of an odd one. You're sitting there going, I have no idea what she's doing. Literally no idea what she's up to. Don't worry, neither have I. It's an unusual show because the performer is married to the composer, and not Henry Purcell. I'm not that old. Almost, not quite, but the composer of the original work in this, Tina
I'm
over there.
old, by the way,
Yes.
so that's, you know.
And you might be wondering who wears the trousers in this creative partnership. Well, literally it varies, but metaphorically speaking, we've spent a bit of the usual horse trading you get. Could you possibly make your notes fit my words a bit better? Could you possibly make my notes fit the words? And we go backwards and forwards. And she has heard, because I did try to compose a couple of bits, those 5 little words that no composer ever wants to hear about a score from the librettist.
Don't worry, I've got this.
But I did. She was very lovely about it. And like I say, we have a relationship because, of course, she gave up a lot of the desire to write because of the practicalities of life, sensible day jobs. Whilst I've rushed off and tried sometimes to work freelance and tried sometimes to bring the bread in, and sometimes I do tour professionally, I've got quite good at being a spoken word artist. As you may have noticed, when it comes to speaking on stage, I have no shame. So that's happened. But yes, we've had to make compromises. But, you know, we work together, we have domestic relationships, and I do a lot of the housework, because obviously with Tina having a sensible day job, me only occasionally rushing off to do theatre work, I've got used to being the housewife. But that's fine. I can imagine it might be quite punishing for the traditional male ego to earn less than your partner or to have to do the housework. But it's one of the great advantages of being gender fluid, because if you are already literally wearing the frocks, wearing them metaphorically just comes naturally. That's true. And also it's a good advantage. If you do have, trust me, if you actually have a pile of housework one day, you know, and you can't get away from it, cooking, ironing, washing, cleaning, you've got to get through the whole lot. What I do, put on a nice pair of American tan pantyhose, a big fluffy dress, bit of an apron, a few petticoats, and imagine you're Doris Day in that scene from Calamity Jane where they're fixing up the cabin, and somehow the housework just flies by. And it occurred to me it's time for a bit of a patter song on those lines. So here we go.
Everybody sometimes needs a wife, that special little lady in your life, that special gentle paragon of nice, who'll honor you and love you in a trice. Take my advice, you really need a wife, there's really nothing better than a wife. Oh, but don't think I'm some sexist, suggesting girls exist to give themselves over to pleasing their spouse. I'm simply expounding a view, not astounding. The one in puffy gingham looks better in the house. Old 50s gorgeous, it's glam and terrific. Just don't regard a rule of gender specific. 60 years later, we're all on the rights to switch who gets trousers and who's kept in tights. Sometimes it's the girl who needs a wife, so she can go and get on with her life. Pursue careers whilst hubby's cute and nice, flitting round and dusting in a trice. Girls, take my advice, you simply need a wife. There's really nothing better than a wife. So try each of us roles, not fighting and cursing. The key to some marriage is gender reversing. Everybody sometimes needs a wife, that special little lady in your life, that selfless gentle paragon of nice, who'll honor you and love you in a trice.
the end of the show. I know, you're groaning, going, oh, thank God it's over. But no, you don't get away that easy. You don't get away that easily. I want the glasses. Now then. Oh, it is, I guess it is. It's the wrong I am singing all the right notes. But not necessarily in the right order, I'll give you that. Yes, it's marriage. We're talking about marriage. And do you know what? I've noticed something about marriages in opera. They don't always go well, do they? It's strange. You think it would just flow along naturally with the music, but it just doesn't seem to, even in the comedies. Now, that means it's time for our final dive into the dressing up box, the vocal dressing up box of diva roles. This is the comedy, and with me doing it, you can guarantee it'll be a laugh. Except this aria actually isn't funny. It actually starts with worry and agitation. It moves through panic and fear and rage and heartbreak before it goes somewhere else entirely. And it does all those emotions really quickly. Out of everything I've ever watched, and this is with drama as well, I don't think I've seen anything that moves through so many emotions so quickly and so effectively. Any ideas what I'm going to try and do to end with? What do you think? All right, I'll give you another clue. It's normally in C. It tops out at A. I have transposed it a fourth down, so it tops out at the same place as Dido, at the E5. What do we reckon I'm going for?
Susanna?
Oh, which one though? Yes, but am I playing Susanna or am I waiting for Susanna?
Susanna non viene, sono lasciata disappear, con il conte a calze la proposta, a quanto ha detto il progetto mi fa, ed uno sposo si vivace e geloso, ma che mal c'è, cangiando i miei vestiti con quelli di Susanna e suoi commiei al favore della notte. Oh cielo, a qual mi stato fatale io sono ridata da un fianzato crudele. Infatti, per ricordarmi sto inudita d'infedeltà, di gelosia, di sdegno, Indi offesa, al fin tradita. Oh!
here. Really, I should leave it. Because if Dove Summer is beyond my vocal abilities, which currently, in this stage of my singing career, it is, what stage of the bell curve I'm on, I don't know. But it is beyond me. The next bit, the decant even in that transposition, and even with the little cut I was thinking about, it's probably beyond me. And so we'll leave it there. However, I find it difficult to leave it there. Not for the reason you might think, not ego, I know how bad I am. No, I find it difficult to leave it here. Because I find it difficult to leave her there, in that moment of despair, because I know where this should go. This should lead to the possibility of hope, the realization that she can effect change. Now, in the theatre of my mind, if I leave it there, I leave her in that moment, forever stuck before that realization. And I know that all of this happens, all of this has to happen. It is all bound up in notes by Mozart and words by Dupont, but in the theatre of my mind, she is stuck. And that has to happen, that has to change, because she needs to embrace her destiny. She needs to realise that she can get a happy ending. She needs to sweep out in a big frock, because trust me, they always do, and affect that change. Because now Susanna is the brightest star around which all of this revolves, but even she cannot do this alone. She cannot do it without the Countess. Because without the Countess, no letter is written, no Sularia, no little breeze, no song that night, no comedy of cross-dressing errors will refer, which reveals the truth of love. That can't happen. There will be no forgiveness beneath the pines. There won't even be that melody which we all know. Those notes of forgiveness will never ring out if she doesn't try. And I'm having a metatextual crisis. No, bugger it. Now listen to me, lady. You have to try. You have to, even when the odds are against us, and we will surely fail. And this is a plan of action which is ludicrous at best and sure to make a bigger fool of us in everybody's gaze and ears. Still, we must proceed to try. We must dress in borrowed raiment and accept the help of those who know more, yet love us all the same, and hope. If I can be clever enough, if I can work hard enough, if I can try and am kind to those around me, perhaps, just once, the universe, cold and stone though it is, will blink. And all will be forgiven, and every fool upon this stage and everyone who sits within the circle hereabout will be absolved in full. And I care not if that is childish optimism and proven wrong each night and twice on matinees. That is what we must do. We are here to show to the universe the power of perseverance and compassion. But have I left this too late? Time progresses in music as it does in art and as it does in life. The clock is ticking. But, oh, why is there never a magician's cabinet when you need one? But, no. If it is my job to be a joke in opera, then this must be a comedy, and I know the rules of drama. Comedies don't end this way. There is always a quaint device, a get-out-of-jail-free card, available for clever barbers, scheming fools, magicians able to palm a card and play it at the moment's appetite. And the get-out-of-jail-free card is always on show, like in all good magic tricks from the very beginning. Fermata! The grand pause, an indication that a note or a rest should be held for the performer's discretion, pulled out long beyond its natural end. And I take that chance, that get out of jail free card, because I will now play my cadenza, which as a poet I give to you in words. I'm not exactly breaking the laws of time, but as a wise man, who is sometimes a woman, once said, I am bending them a little. And now, the singer may now fail, but the song is never wrong, even when it lodges in the larynx of a fool. think there's something I've got to do. Oh, swing off in a big frock.
Welcome back, everyone. A lovely memory to go back to that and hear it all again. Anna, I think you have to, is this right, ask Alice and Tina to turn their video on, or can you do it yourselves? They are our panel for tonight. And now, welcome questions. I've got a few of my own. Hello. Oh, that's interesting. We've got Anna instead of Tina, and
Okay, we're here.
oh, there you go. Right. And we've lost Anna again. But anyway, yeah, it's such a lovely, engaging thing. I think, Alice, you're too hard on yourself. That actually, my favourite bits were your two arias in that piece. Anyway, a question I really want to ask is, Tina, or do you often appear in Alice's shows? Are you often there?
This is the this is the first one. I've appeared in a film that we did together as a very small part. I was actually behind the camera filming most of it, but a couple of points I came in. But yes, I'm very much behind the stage. But all that I learned to sing opera myself.
You're very much centre stage in this one. How was that?
It was an interesting experience. It's something I probably would try again, do some more music, because I do like composing, although I do find vocal music ironically challenging to write.
That's interesting. Why is that?
I specialise, I think partly is about 7 years after I finished my degree in music, I then had a viral infection that affected my lungs, which made it, I lost breath control, my voice has dropped dramatically. I was a full soprano as well, but no longer. And I just find it, you know, now going back to sort of an instrument that I have less control of than when I was actually doing my degree.
Yeah, that makes complete. I really understand that, because I was a fairly stellar boy soprano and doing set numbers and even songs on Radio 3 and things. And then the minute my voice broke, that was it, and never, ever, ever came back again.
Ironically, the first opera part I sang was when I laid. Well, it's Dido's Lament. But now, give me two phrases, I could get back into it. but I can't just do it cold now.
That begs a really interesting question from Alice, which I wanted to ask after the first joke. It really interested me that you take a really famous mezzo aria that so is famously low and was oh God, what's the name? That incredibly famous contralto who has the singing competition now, who's just suddenly dropped out of my head. Was so well known for singing that, and then you take a high soprano role. What drew you to those two different arias?
For me, for those particular two, I think it's probably the story. Really, it's because coming out of a theatre background, and as I said in the show, with the Dido, there is that sense that I find it so achingly pretty and beautiful because it's about being more concerned for the people around you than yourself and not wishing to ever cause any trouble or any pain. And that's something, as I was saying in the show, which really speaks to me. And also, it's the first time I saw Tina in an opera was Dido, and she wasn't playing Dido in that. But I've heard her sing it subsequently. So again, it had a sort of emotional connection. And as I said with the Mozart, it was just because it's that amazing summation of deciding, no, I'm going to try and do this. There is, I mean, the circumstances that in the terms of the plot logistics is completely different, but it's a moment of someone saying, this could all go badly wrong. It's all going to fail. I'm in trouble. It's terrible. I'm reduced to this circumstance. But what if I try? And what if I can make a difference? And it's that sort of thought process that I just kept coming back to. And I thought, this is far too complicated, but it's absolutely the right piece to end on. Because even if I can't do it, that the whole point is about trying. And I think for me, that's why I wanted to do Dove Sono.
And she's, as you say, she's better than she's lets on.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely the most emotionally powerful moments of that show with a few arias for sure, because suddenly I think partly because you'd invested so much in doing them, that there was so much preparation behind them, but also you went to two very profoundly emotional places as you did them. And actually each of them, as for you, I think all of us, or those of us that know them, have a certain amount of baggage attached. I'm haunted by Dove Sono. My first job when I worked for English National Opera, the very first show I worked on there was The Marriage of Figaro, or Figaro's Wedding as it was called then. And there was an absolutely toxic relationship between the conductor and the soprano singing the countess. So the story was playing itself out, and she was sensational. She was incredible performance. She was fragile. So one night we had Dove Sono is the beginning of the third act, so the start of the second half. And one night I remember we had to hold the curtain because she wasn't ready. She wasn't psychologically ready. So there were 2,500 people waiting out there for her to arrive at the point to be able to do it. And then on top of all that, I was there was the reception line when Princess Diana came, and suddenly you had like our leading lady looking a gazillion dollars in the biggest jewelist, gorgeousest, glamourist. I'm like making up words to describe it. The most incredible, stunning princess dress meeting Princess Diana, who at that very moment was famously trapped in an absolutely toxic marriage. So like wheels within wheels. But I think every one of us who knows those songs, as I say, has some baggage attached. A question that I've been asking everybody, and I know you've got a rather pleasing answer to this, is what's happening next with this work?
Well, it is actually, it's touring. We've got some funding from Arts Council England, which has been amazing to actually develop the work. And people have been interested in the story of the show. And it has got bookings. So I'm going to be doing it in my hometown of Colchester on the 11th of October, then at Cambridge Junction in end of November. And then there's going to be performances in London next year and other regional gigs, and over to France as well, hopefully, to Avignon, to an English language speaking festival. So we're doing it there. Might swap out one of the, possibly, or add in a French a French aria would be nice. That would be interesting if I'm doing it abroad. But I do want to continue. I just want to try and get better at the singing. I actually want to be able to do it, because the whole point about the show is it is about trying, and it's not about failure or success, but it's about a continual journey, and I want to be able to just get better at doing it. And also on a very simple level, some of the theatre things, even though I'm a spoken word artist, I look at it and go, oh, you're walking around far too much, or things like that. There's little bits where I go, oh no, that poem isn't quite right, or I need to tamper the text a bit there. So there's still theatre things that need to be improved with it as well. It's not just me trying to learn to sing, but it's got a future. I hope it does. And it's straight, and feeling that I've fulfilled something, a promise that I set in motion 2 years ago for Tete-a-Tete. Although feeling a little conflicted, because now I've done that, it sort of feels not the show's finished, but that promise to Tete-a-Tete has been paid off, and I feel kind of a bit bereft now. I don't know what to do. But
you get better and come back.
well, there is that. I've got to actually be able to really do it properly before I come back. Yes, but that would be.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you after the performance that you hit an emotional reality in those two arias that is not always there with people who are more technically adept. That's absolutely, definitely true. And what do people buy tickets for? They're not interested in somebody executing something precisely. They go because they want to be moved. So you really are onto something. That, I think that's why you shouldn't be too down on yourself, because it was very touching. It's a very touching performance. There's a whole other side to it as well, which I mean, you said before we let the public in how there's so much discussion of itself in the show that there's maybe not more to discuss, but I think there is. And another side of it is, which you do touch on, is being an outsider in gender and then arriving in opera as an outsider. But do you still feel that? Did you feel excluded? Do you feel you belong? Or
that's an interesting. Well, everyone's been incredibly welcoming, and everyone who I've spoken to, I've not felt that anyone's kept me at arm's length. Everyone's wanted to teach and talk to me, and I felt very embraced. I've actually felt very, very welcomed. I still think of myself as an outsider because I don't have the technical skill or the knowledge, despite working for 2 years. And that's only a fraction. I know people do this for years and years and years and train for such a long time. But I'm hoping to get there one day.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. You're touching on something quite powerful there, which is how barriers are sometimes perceived by the excluded person. That's certainly not always the case, but there's an element. Well, do you agree? Do you disagree? I don't know.
Perhaps there's an element to which I probably put the barriers up myself. But I think in some ways the interesting thing about it is it actually, apart from the technical quality of the voice, not having a female voice, which is obviously part of the show, I felt more of an outsider as an opera in terms of the technique of opera than an outsider in terms of gender. And that's an interesting position to be in, to actually feel, oh, that's not the major reason why I feel out of place doing this. It's not a gender thing. It's actually a singing thing. It's a technique thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. And I hope people enjoy it, and I hope it seems to resonate, because I had some really nice feedback afterwards, and I hope people watch it because it makes people want to do things and want to try new skills, because there's an audience who might sit in front of that and be brilliant musically, but there might be other things that they haven't ever tried to do, and I want to give them the permission to make a fool of yourself and to try.
Okay, I'll quit my job and become an astronaut then.
Well, there is that. Yeah, you could try. Be an astronaut.
Oh, this might be a long haul. Well, you talked about watching, and that's a really lovely place for me to be watching the clock going. It's about to flip over to 10 to our end point. So thank you both very much for a really lovely show and very enjoyable brief discussion. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And let's see more of it very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
And you.